Alright, so today we're going to be cooking banana crumb muffins. The plan for this one is we're going to already have the oven preheated to 375 degrees. We got the little paper things, the muffin papers, lined in the muffin tin. So let's start mixing the dry ingredients. Also, later, I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment with something, and we'll see how that goes. So, first of all, I'm going to use this bowl because it goes on the stand mixer. And we're going to start with mixing up together 1.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking powder, and the salt. Alright, so we're going to get the flour out. And I'm also going to have a custard cup when I'm measuring the stuff. The smaller things like the baking powder, baking soda, stuff like that, so it doesn't get spilled. We're going to get the all-purpose flour out. And it's calling for 1.5 cups of flour, so I'm just going to keep using the half cup because it's small and easier to get into that bag. I'm going to do 3 of those. Like last time with the bitter garlic biscuits, I'm just going to scoop the flour out here. We're going to chop with the back side of a knife. Then we're going to... Oops, that didn't work out right. I kind of went in the cup a little bit, so we're just going to try it again. Just going to chop with the knife and then slide off so it's flat. And then we're going to do that 2 more times. Alright, now the flour's out and I have made a sufficient mess. I'm going to just put this back here. Put my measuring cup back. I'll use that later if I need it. I'm going to quickly, with a paper towel, wipe this into my sink that is just off to the right here, I promise. My garbage can is right next to me as well. We're going to keep the flour there. Next, let's go with the baking soda. We're going to need a teaspoon of baking soda, so I'm going to take the teaspoon measuring thingadoo, the measuring stick, and it's not labeled, but this is baking soda. It just was getting kind of low in the box, so we poured it out into a Tupperware bowl. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon of that. Kind of chop the top with it, and then just clear that off. There's the baking soda. Get that out of the way. Now we're going to use the baking powder. It's got the built-in SES inside the container. So again, just 1 teaspoon of that. There we go. And next we have the salt. It's going to be 1/2 teaspoon of salt, so I'm going to grab the 1/2 teaspoon. Our salt thing broke, so it doesn't have that little measuring thing, the spout. So it's a little bit messy, but we're just going to pour that in. Yeah, there's quite a bit of overflow on our salt, but it's what we got to work with. So there's the 1/2 teaspoon of salt right in there, and those are the dry ingredients. I did it over the custard cup. I'm going to save this for later for when I measure other things. Now I'm just going to put all the dry ingredients, back into the stand mixer so it's out of the way, and then I'll get started on the wet ingredients. Alright, we're going to get started on the wet ingredients, so I grabbed another bowl. I'm going to move this out of the way. We're going to beat together 3 bananas. And personally, I don't really like the flavor of a banana that much, and the bananas I found that were the most ripe at Walmart were small-ish. So, you know what? Now I'm still going to put 4 in, even though the recipe calls for 3, because they're smaller than standard-sized bananas. If it's too liquidy or whatever, I can always just add more flour. Alright, so we got all those bananas done. We're going to mash them together with this potato masher here. Yikes, they are not ripe. Yeah, so this is going to be a bit of a struggle because they are still pretty new. Next, we got to put in the sugar. So this recipe calls for 3/4 cup of white sugar. So I have my granulated sugar here. I'm going to grab my 1/4 cup measuring. And you know what? We'll grab the 1/2 cup too, because it'll just make life easier. Because 1/2 plus 1/4 is 3/4. So a half cup of sugar right in there. And then there's a quarter cup of sugar. So it's 3/4 in total. I'm gonna put the sugar back off to the side. Now we're gonna crack the egg in there, and once I crack this, I'm gonna wash my hands again to prevent salmonella. So we're just gonna, in the other bowl, so Shell does not get into the wet mixture, because that would have been unfortunate. Alright, so it's cracked there. I'm going to wash my hands before I touch anything else, and then I'll be right back. Yeah, I reckon salmonella. I've never had salmonella, but it's probably not fun if you do get it. So we're just going to put that egg right in there into the wet ingredients. And we also need vanilla. So I have my vanilla here. I'm just going to immediately toss the egg bowl in the sink because egg is gross. We're going to use our pure vanilla extract, and for this recipe it calls for half a teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm going to grab that half teaspoon measuring spoon again, unscrew the top, hold it over the custard cup, except I'm not going to use this one because that's a full teaspoon. This one's a half a teaspoon. Whoops, that's a little much. That's alright. We're just going to take this and plop right in there. And that's going to need to be rinsed out and cleaned, just so the vanilla does not contaminate anything else. Yeah, that's... And now we're on to the melted butter. In order to get the correct amount of melted butter, as you can see on the stick of butter, this line measures out 1/3 of a cup, which is what we need. So I'm going to use that, and I will be right back with that melted. Alright, so now that the butter has been thoroughly nuked, we're just going to pour that into the wet ingredients. I'm going to give that a quick stir together before... We don't actually have a wooden spoon. That's great. I'm going to give that a quick stir together before I put it into the stand mixer, just to make sure that those are a little bit incorporated. And then into the stand mixer it goes. I'm going to break the yolk of the egg so it actually stirs. Alright, now that's looking good. I'm going to slide the stand mixer over. Come here, KitchenAid. Alright, so we're going to prop that up. I've got the paddle attachment on. I'm going to keep this spatula handy in a bowl here, just in case I need to wipe down the sides of the KitchenAid. So we're just going to keep that there. Hopefully it doesn't fall out. And then we're going to dump this into here to make sure all the ingredients are incorporated. Go on in there. Actually, I can use a spatula now just to kind of wipe this stuff out. Look at that. This is weird. I am talking to myself at the moment. So yeah, now that most of that's out, I'm just going to toss this bowl aside into the sink. We're going to place the paddle attachment back down. We're going to make sure to lock said KitchenAid, and we're going to put it on a low-ish setting until it's all beaten together. Well, so it's preferably folded. That is about good. So now we're going to bring over the muffin tins with their papers, and we're going to begin to fill those. So I'm just going to scooch this off a little bit to the side here, bring in the tin. Yeah, so we're going to do that. We're going to unlock the stand mixer so I can prop it up a little bit. And I'm just going to use a spoon to begin to ladle these in. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. That might be a little bit much, but like I said, this is just an experiment here. So I'm going to do that. We're going to set these aside for now so I don't get any in there on accident. So we're going to take our tablespoon measurement, bring the KitchenAid in a little bit closer. This does not have an SES, so once again, I will bring out the custard cup full of vanilla and salt. What a combination. So we're going to go with, oh, that's thicker than I thought. We're going to go with 1 tablespoon. And 2 tablespoons. Oops, missed that one up. That's alright though. Yep, so we'll go with 2 tablespoons in there. I'll set this into the sink. We'll move the cocoa powder out of the way. Same thing with the custard cup. Bring the stand mixer back in, plop it back down, lock it, and we're going to stir again. Okay, that looks about good. So we're going to see how this turns out. It may have been way too much chocolate, and I might have just ruined 5 of them, but I'm willing to take that risk. So we're going to, once again, we're going to unlock it, tip it up. I'll bring the tray back over. So anyways, we're going to go right back at it. Again, oops, that spoon is in the wrong container. Oh well. We'll grab another one. We're going to get right back at it again. I'm going to actually push this slightly out of the way. I guess it's not going out of the way. Alright, so now I got all of the muffin tins filled in. I'm going to clean up this area around here a little bit. Probably wipe that little bit off with a paper towel. Yeah, we're going to get that off to prevent burning to the best of my abilities. It was a little bit difficult. Once I added the chocolate powder in, it got a little bit sticky, which is, you know, makes sense because you're adding another dry ingredient, so it's going to thicken up the batter a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of move stuff out of this area. I'm going to scooch the muffins off to the side, and we're going to make the crumb topping to put on top. I'll be right back with that. Alright, so now I have a smaller bowl ready, and I'm going to get ready to start making the crumb topping. First, we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of butter into... Sorry, my bad. We're going to actually start with mixing together brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of flour, and cinnamon. So to mix the brown sugar, I only have light brown sugar. We're going to need 1/3 cup, which I've got right here. Brown sugar you need to pack down so it forms like a sandcastle. So I'm going to attempt to start scooping that out with a spoon, and then I'll start packing it in. And then we're going to hope it does a sandcastle. Ta-da! And then we're just going to break it in so it's easier for mixing. Alright, I've got my tablespoon washed and dried out, which is important because we're doing flour and it could stick if it was a little bit wet. So, we're going to put in the cinnamon. For cinnamon here, you're going to need 1/4 teaspoon, so very little. So next, we're going to put in the 2 tablespoons of butter. Now I'm going to use the rest of the butter stick I used from earlier, which is probably a little bit more than 2 tablespoons. Yeah, just barely over, but I think it's going to be okay because it'll just give us a little bit more mixture to put on top. It'll be a little bit more, I'll have a little bit more crumbs in it. So we're going to put that in there. I'm going to scooch this stuff aside, and I'm going to mix it together with the pastry blender, and we're going to just attempt to just cut that butter right in. Alright, I think that's about mixed enough for this, so I'm going to start putting that on top once I scrape it out from there. So we're going to grab our muffin tin. And we're going to toss this in the sink, bring the muffin tin back over, and start sprinkling it on top. So here we go. Just going to drizzle a little bit on top of each one. Alright, I think we are good to go into the oven now. We're going to bake them for around 18 to 20 minutes until they are fully cooled. We're going to put them on the bottom rack. So yeah, and then I'll come back and we'll test to see if they are done. All right, so I got the banana muffins out of the oven after 18 minutes. We're gonna check to make sure that they are cooked. If I can grab a toothpick, that would be awesome. All right, so we're gonna stick it into like, this looks like it's the largest one. Stick it in, then out. Came out clean. We're gonna test it on a different one too with a different toothpick. Came out clean. We're just gonna do one more time for good measure on this one. All right, came out clean. So it looks like they're done. I'm just gonna set them aside. We'll pop them out to cool a little bit, and then we will see how they taste. All right, what good is cooking if you can't share it with your friends? Guinea pig 1, how is it? Very good. Guinea pig 2. Guinea pig 3.
Very good.
Nice.
I mean,
so I would
dead,
say
so
that
it's
is a
pretty nice.
success. The banana muffins turned out good.
I'm not dead, so yeah.